आज जब मैं इस अमरावती की पुण्य भूमि पर खड़ा हूं तो मुझे केवल एक शहर नहीं दिख रहा, मुझे एक सपना सच होते दिख रहा है.
So we have clear targets and we're now working towards building the entire ecosystem. So it actually becomes a livable city and not just a work city.
On 2nd of May, Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched Amravati, the new capital city of Andhra Pradesh. But this wasn't the first time the new greenfield city on the banks of River Krishna was being launched. In 2015, Chief Minister CM Chandrababu Naidu had got Mr. Modi for a similar launch for Amaravati. But voted out of power in 2019, Naidu saw his dream project getting stalled under the new government. Back as Chief Minister with an unprecedented mandate, Naidu has resuscitated his dream project. But what does it take to develop and then settle a new city? It is Friday, the 16th of May. From the Economic Times, I'm your host Nidhi Sharma and you're listening to the Morning Brief. Today, we are looking at the challenges in settling a new administrative capital and getting investors in to kickstart the growth story. India's rapid urban growth has been unplanned and haphazard. People moved from the villages in search of employment and settled around urban centers, and city limits have grown chaotically. By 2050, it is projected that half of India's population will live in urban areas, a giant leap from Mahatma Gandhi's observation that India lives in its villages. In such a scenario, one would think that greenfield cities should be a priority area. But sample this. India launched Smart Cities mission in June 2015 to choose 100 cities through a competitive process and develop them as smart cities. The states were given a choice to send proposals for retrofitting and smartening up cities or developing new greenfield cities. Only 5 of 100 cities opted for developing a greenfield city. In 2021, the 15th Finance Commission had allocated a grant of rupees 8,000 crore as performance-based challenge fund to incubate 8 new greenfield cities in 5 years. Though the process for choosing the 8 new centers to be developed was completed in 2023, the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs has not finalized the names. This grant will now lapse on March 31st, 2026. Today, I have with me Mr. Kunal Kumar, who headed the Smart Cities mission. Welcome to the Morning Brief, sir. I will begin with your experience at the mission. Why is it that it was based largely on retrofitting and not developing greenfield cities?
First of all, let me tell you, I really enjoyed working as the mission director of the Smart Cities program. The best part about that program, if you see the perspective, Smart Cities mission is one of the centrally sponsored schemes of the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. You know, what was unique about Smart Cities mission was that the choice of what to do was localized in the city. There was a list, exhaustive list of things that was mentioned, broad guidelines that were created, and the cities were free to create their programs around it. They went about taking on challenges which were very local to their context and solving them. On your point on mostly retrofitting happening and the mission not allowing for greenfield, that is not factually correct. Contrary to what you said, that the mission allowed only retrofitting, the mission allowed 3 kinds of developments. One was retrofitting, the other was redevelopment, and the third was greenfield cities. So all the three choices were available, and 5 of the 100 cities which were chosen by competition, which was another unique aspect of the mission. Unlike any other mission, cities here were chosen through 4 rounds of stiff competition. So the choice was given to these cities to choose the area-based development model. Only 5 chose greenfield, the rest largely chose retrofitting.
What was the reason for there being such few takers for the greenfield option?
First thing, greenfield city is an economic enterprise. It's almost like taking up formation of a new economic entity. There has to be a strong economic driver, and those drivers don't exist across the country. If you wanted to build 100, it's very difficult. Those drivers will exist in few places. So that's number one. And sometimes in the greenfield city development, what you have to do is sort of the harsh reality is that you will actually have to displace communities. There are land costs, there are speculative tendencies, and land acquisition itself is a process that you have to go through. Plus, we have to understand that greenfield development is a multi-year process. It's a 10, 12, 15-year process, and political and institutional continuity becomes another problem. And we've seen that in some ways happen in Amaravati. And therefore, many cities don't want to get into that. In greenfield cities, sometimes will require much higher cost and cost much beyond the initial cost, because the development just keeps on recurrently happening over a period of time. And of course, the chances of success have been very weak. We've seen in the past. So if you want to do a greenfield city, how will people come there? How will occupancy increase? How will we do away with the social infrastructure deficit? It requires a completely new way of planning. So all those are difficult issues, they're wicked problems to solve, which is why I think people went for retrofitting rather than greenfield development.
In recent times, we have seen states attempting to settle their administrative capitals. So we have seen Gandhinagar, we have seen Naya Raipur. The cities revolve around the administration, but there is no real settlement as such of people coming from outside. Do you think a different kind of planning is required?
I think in both cases of Naya Raipur and Amravati, they have been planned more as political capitals and administrative capitals. But they also need to have some kind of economic opportunity, job creating opportunity, industries and trade opportunity that should be there. And then only they will be able to move ahead. I think overemphasis on physical infrastructure and underemphasis on social infrastructure is one thing that I have felt could be looked at. Because when we invest a lot in infrastructure, they consume a lot of money. They're not sufficient enough to bring in people into that city. Because if you and I are going to live in a city, we would require, some kind of let's say a cinema, a restaurant, places where our children can go to, maybe a library, maybe a theater. These are the kinds of things which will draw people. I think these cities require autonomous, self-driven, fully empowered institutions at the local level to take decisions. These are the guys who are actually going to deliver the city. Only they can then bring in the community, civil society, talk to them. They can talk to potential residents. They can have meetings. They can bring in investors. They can localize all these decisions. And if it all happens from the state government and it's not happening at the local level, nobody wants to come and live in a city like that, because tomorrow the state government changes, everything will change. But if there is an autonomous body, it is an empowered body, and it is taking decisions at the local level and is taking decisions in the long term in the interest of people, taking people by their side and driven by the community sort of engagement, then people will believe, and they will believe that these decisions will stick. Plus, also disregard for local context is something that I feel has been there. If you look at the buildings in Naya Raipur, they're very similar to the buildings in Raipur, or for matter, the buildings in Bhopal or Indore. What differentiates? When we have a clean canvas, you could have developed a city which has a unique identity, a unique look, a unique presence. Trying to bring in the essence of that locality, the culture, the context of that locality. This is what I think is my personal take on these city developments.
So can you give me an example of a greenfield city, like, in India or abroad, which you think was a good idea to go and settle a city?
I think one of the best examples I will give is Magarpatta city in Pune. Magarpatta is a private township built over about 120 acres of land. Farmers They owned this land. They came together, pooled this land, appointed one of their communities persons who was a real estate developer as the proponent, and that 110 acres, 20 acres was converted into a township. The farmers became shareholders. They also got houses within the township. As we speak today, within those 110 acres or 120 acres, if I remember right, 80,000 jobs exist. There are multiple companies which have put offices. These farmers are making money every year in dividends and also have their houses there. Plus, a lot of people are living inside that community. So that, I think, despite being in the private sector, is a very good example of a good city. I think another city which has worked, where government has taken the lead to some extent, is Newtown, Kolkata. Because I think there was a strong emphasis on social infrastructure which made that city click. And especially for the kind of crowd they wanted to attract, which was youth, millennials, startups. And therefore, they had to do a lot of emphasis on building social infrastructure. Shri City, Pharma City, Mahindra City, all of these cities are specific industry-based cities which are across the country in Hyderabad and Chennai. Of course, Gift City and Dholera are also examples in Gujarat, which have now started to make a lot of sense and doing great for businesses and all. And so what has worked in those areas also needs to be learned. In fact, Navi Mumbai to some extent is a planned city. That's also a new city you can talk about, which has made some sense in India. So what worked when Navi Mumbai was being created? What worked for Navi Mumbai did not work for Nara. We should study that in contrast and see what are the learnings, and then we can go ahead.
Clearly, we have examples of greenfield cities working in India. But as Kunal Kumar says, it is an economic venture and not an administrative one. This brings Amravati in sharp focus. It is an ambitious project and probably the first such elaborate one in recent times in India. So what's the Amaravati story? When Andhra Pradesh was bifurcated in 2014, the two new states of Telangana and Andhra were to share the capital of Hyderabad for 10 years. It was decided that at the end of this period, Telangana would get Hyderabad and Andhra would develop a new capital city. In 2014 itself, Naidu declared that a new capital city will be developed in Amravati. But Naidu knew that acquiring land will remain a challenge. So the state government came up with an interesting land pooling scheme. It did not venture into acquisition, which could have been riddled with court cases. In 2015, the state asked farmers to voluntarily pool their land and promised them land in the new capital region. The state pooled about 33,000 acres of fertile agricultural land from 30,000 farmers across 29 villages for the ambitious capital project. A master plan was developed and the state government started allotting land. But in 2019, Naidu's TDP was routed and YSRCP came to power. The new Chief Minister Jagan Mohan Reddy shelved this idea and came up with his own three capital idea. But now Naidu is back and so is his Amravati. What is different about it this time? All projects have a completion date of 2 to 3 years. Naidu wants the capital up and running in front of him. We will speak to State IT and Education Minister Nara Lokesh, who has been spearheading Andhra's initiative to get more investments. So Lokesh, how do you see Amravati shaping up?
Well, I mean, Amravati has gone through a lot in the last administration. Jagan really didn't pay any attention. All the works that were coming for completion also he did not complete, and that created a lot of challenges for the state. And then came up the three capital issue that everyone laughed at. And with the mandate that we got, that it's going to be one state, one capital, it puts great responsibility on us to get the work started. And if you look at it, we've sort of restarted everything. Funds have been tied up to ensure that the project sees the entire vision through in the next 5 years.
So this time, Lokesh, tell us, how difficult has it been to push this, to resume construction and to get back investors?
And definitely a lot more challenging than 2014 and 19. And if you look at the kind of investments that we have attracted in the first 11 months of this government, we are second to none in terms of attracting domestic investments. So that's a testimony of the hard work that we are doing here in the state. And we are walking the talk.
Do you think it will be challenging to settle this new capital?
See, if you look at Mr. Naidu's history, his fourth time as the chief minister, he's done amazing work on building new cities. So Cyberabad is a great example of that. In a similar fashion, here you have Vijayawada, Guntur and Amravati. And to create a new city, you need the entire social ecosystem. So it could be education, it could be hotels, conventions, the whole 9 yards, including restaurant and so on and so forth. That's what we've got it right. If you look at it, WIT is here, SRM is here. Few other institutions that were supposed to come, which got stalled in the last 5 years, are now starting up works. Hospitals is another focus area for us. So we have clear targets and we're now working towards building the entire ecosystem. So it actually becomes a livable city and not just a work city.
So we saw Singapore consortium moving out of Amravati once you all left power. Is there a plan to get the Singapore government back in?
We continue to engage with the Singapore government. But the master plan has been given by their consortium of companies. It's designed after the Singapore model of success. So we're quite clear that we'll execute on that master plan.
How certain are you of meeting the deadline of 2 to 3 years?
110%. We will deliver.
And what is the guarantee that it won't get stalled or post 2029?
Well, post 2029, India will get another term for sure, because people will actually see things coming into fruition with the kind of jobs that we're creating. See, if you look at between 14 and 19, it took us time to find our feet because the state was just bifurcated. Commission never told us where the capital should get located. So we had to convince our electorate, citizens, then do the land pooling, do the designs and all that it came to us the last 2 years of the government. Then unfortunately we lost. But this time around we're starting from day one, and we have started from day one. So that gives us at least 4 years of time now to actually get for people of Andhra Pradesh to see the dream that we've been showcasing on. They will see it in physical form this time around.
I had recently visited Amravati and Vijayawada to see the progress on the ground. Its new buildings are coming up, but there is a long way to go for completion of projects. This time, Naidu is not taking any chances. He is now asking the centre for legal sanctity for Amaravati. This means an amendment to Andhra Pradesh Reorganisation Act to declare Amaravati as the capital city. This is all I have for you today. This episode was brought to you by sound designer Indraneel Bhattacharjee and producer Rajas Nair. Executive producers Anirban Chaudhary and Arijit Barman. All new episodes of the Morning Brief podcast drop every Tuesday, Thursday and Friday. It streams on ET Play and all audio platforms of your choice. All clips used in this episode belong to their respective owners. Credits mentioned in the description. I'm your host Nidhi Sharma signing off. Have a great week.